On a Tuesday afternoon in February, a 26-year-old reputed gang member, Lazarick Collins, was in a car driven by his pregnant girlfriend. They were driving in the Lawndale neighborhood on the city's west side. Collins' 2-year-old nephew, Levante White Jr., was in the back seat. They pulled down this alley. On her phone, Collins' girlfriend live streamed what happened next. More than a dozen shots were fired before the shooters sped off. Collins was hit 5 times. His girlfriend was shot in the stomach and fled the scene, phone in hand. But Collins' toddler nephew, Levante, was struck in the head by a stray bullet, still strapped in his car seat. Both Collins and Levante were pronounced dead at Stroger Hospital.
My gut is telling me when we finally find this guy, we're going to find that he's a repeat gun offender.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson's pronouncement would prove prophetic. 2 days later, 26-year-old gang member Devon Swan was charged with Levante's murder.
He's a convicted felon who's been arrested 9 times, including previous gun arrest for unlawful use of a weapon, armed robbery, escape from custody, and numerous narcotics arrests.
The suspect in that double murder has a lot in common with others responsible for the mayhem on Chicago's streets. He is a repeat gun offender. As the numbers of shootings and murders propelled Chicago's violence into the national spotlight and even the president's Twitter feed, new research showed a strong connection between repeat gun offenders and violent attacks. An annual report from the University of Chicago Crime Lab showed a staggering 35% of those arrested for a shooting or homicide last year had prior gun-related arrests. Frank Main is a crime reporter at the Chicago Sun-Times.
A phrase that one hears sometimes on the street is, it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6, meaning it's better to go to court and get a lenient sentence than to die and get buried because you didn't have a gun and weren't able to protect yourself.
Main reports from the front lines of the city's gang wars. He sees firsthand the revolving doors of repeat gun offenders.
You'll see many times somebody will get about a year in prison for gun possession in Chicago, and many times they'll do a turnaround, meaning they're in jail and they're waiting to go to prison for their sentence, but they've already done the time in the jail and they get turned out on the street without even going into the Illinois Department of Corrections. And I think that gang members have known that for a long time.
There's a sense out there that I can do this and there's no consequence to it.
Illinois State Senator Kwame Raoul is trying to change that mindset. He's co-sponsored legislation that would mandate stiffer sentencing for repeat gun offenders.
We say the current range of 3 to 14 for that repeat gun offender, we say it's 7 to 14.
But opponents of the legislation, including Cook County Public Defender Amy Campanelli, says it fails to address the root causes of Chicago's violence.
I think this is a political move, a quick fix to make someone feel good. I've done this law, so I've done my part. We know that's not going to do anything. We have very strict laws on if you possess a weapon and you've possessed a weapon in the past, you can get up to 14 years. Has violence subsided? Have we seen a less violent Chicago?
The current law provides sentences from 3 to 14 years if offenders have previous felony convictions. The proposed legislation requires judges to explain in writing if sentences are below the presumptive minimum, about 7 years.
The presumptive 7 years means the judges will probably always give 7. I am concerned that the judges will treat it like a mandatory minimum. And we've already seen what mandatory minimums have done. They have not made us safer.
Senator Raoul disagrees, noting that judges considering cases on their merits will be key to getting violent repeat offenders off the streets.
We want to have leeway for a judge to look at the circumstances of the offense, the background of the individual, and to say, okay, we have unique circumstances here that don't dictate that we sentence this person as high.
Instead of focusing on repeat gun offenders, Campanelli favors an emphasis on the problems that lead to gun violence.
These communities are poor and they're segregated. And that's why we have violence, because of poverty and segregation. So we have to make their world different. We have to increase their knowledge about feeling safe, and I don't have to pick up a gun to feel safe. I don't have to join a gang and sell dope. I've got another job lined up for me. I can go to college. Hopelessness then brings these youthful kids to join gangs and pick up guns. So let's stop the hopelessness.
But from his interviews with gang members, reporter Frank Main says stiffer sentencing might be effective for repeat offenders.
If the punishment is swift and certain, gang members will pay attention to it. Gang members in Chicago don't really have a problem spending small amounts of time in the Cook County Jail. They know people there. They've been there before. They have a bigger problem going downstate for a long period of time. It takes them out of circulation, and nobody wants to be locked up in prison for a long time.